Michael crosses $1 billion at the box office as Lionsgate roars back.
That's the headline we heard last week, and it's more than a headline, it's a turning point for the last major independent studio. For years, Lionsgate had looked like a dinosaur on the brink of extinction. In 2024, it released 17 movies but only managed $251 million in domestic ticket sales, a staggering 85% drop from its 2012 peak when it jacked up the revenues from blockbuster hits like The Hunger Games, Twilight, and The Expendables.
After last summer's slump, Lionsgate's stock slid to $5.76, its lowest since the pandemic knocked theaters close. Wall Street, Hollywood insiders, and casual moviegoers alike began asking, can Lionsgate survive, or will it get bought by a bigger studio like Paramount or Warner Brothers? Enter Michael, the Michael Jackson biopic that's a complicated, controversial story, and it's being made by a studio that had all the other big names passing by. Lionsgate took on the $150 million project when the biggest studios said it was too risky because of the decades-old accusations of child ointment. The article says child molestation accusations. Lionsgate partnered with Universal and Kino Films for overseas distribution, and the film crossed the billion-dollar mark at the global box office, becoming Lionsgate's first movie to reach that seabed. That figure, reported by Rontrack, is more than just a number, it's a signal that the studio can weather the storm. The same way their thriller The Housemaid, which cost $35 million to make, pulled in $400.5 million, the studio is now planning sequels for both movies. It's the first time any studio has found two new theatrical franchises in a single year, and that's a rarity that deserves notice. But that's only part of the story. Lionsgate's long-term pipeline tells a big story about their approach to risk and innovation. In November, the studio announced a Hunger Games sequel, adding to a roster that includes a Rambo prequel, 2 more John Wick movies, a fourth Now You See Me, and 2 sequels to Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. In addition, they've partnered with horror stalwarts Jason Blum on a remake of Blair Witch Project and with filmmaker James Wan to revive the Saw series. All of these represent different angles of approach. Some are new, like the Blair Witch reimagining, and others a revisit. The market has responded. Since June of last year, the same month the studio had dipped into normal performance, shares have jumped roughly 130%. In the most recent quarter, before Michael hit theaters, operating profit rose 52%, and per-share earnings turned from a 44-cent loss to a tidy 24-cent profit. Senior research analysts like Sean Diffley of Morgan Stanley see how the numbers prove Lionsgate's worth. It can operate as a standalone entity, generate hit films, and find fresh intellectual property, a challenging mix in today's crowded cinema environment. The journey of Lionsgate from brink to resurgence demonstrates that independent studios still have a vital place in Hollywood. If a risk-averse major can return a billion-dollar franchise, perhaps Hollywood's piracy-heavy tech giants are not as unbeatable as once thought. Lionsgate simulated assets enable it to strike deals, co-present, and eventually become more resilient. The star linking the story, Michael Jackson, and the movie that chalked out that milestone both underscore the narrative, that daring, a touch of controversy, and a bit of strategic partnership can turn a company around, even if it feels like the lion's roar is just a headline at first glance. That's the story of Lionsgate's comeback.
Tune in for more stories about Hollywood's independent studios, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to stay on top of industry insights.
Thanks for listening. Soon we'll dive deeper into how other studios are adapting to a new era of streaming and omni-platform release.
Until next time, keep watching, keep asking questions, and keep the conversation moving forward.